When a man truly loves a woman, something inside him changes. His instincts, his focus, his priorities, everything begins to align around this one person who makes him feel alive in a way no one else ever has. But the fascinating thing is, love doesn't just make him say different things. It makes him do different things. It shows up in his actions, in the small moments, in the subtle ways he shows up for her when no one else does. Because when a man genuinely loves a woman, he expresses it not through grand gestures or poetic promises, but through consistent effort and quiet loyalty. The first thing a man does for the woman he truly loves is he becomes protective, not possessive, protective. There's a difference. Possessiveness says, "You're mine," but protectiveness says, "You're safe with me." When he loves you, his instinct to shield you kicks in, not because he thinks you're weak, but because he wants to be the place where you can rest. If someone speaks down to you, he notices. If you're overwhelmed, he steps in. If life is heavy, he tries to take even a little of the weight off your shoulders. It's not about rescuing you. It's about standing beside you and making sure you never have to fight alone. That's what love does. It makes a man want to become your peace, not your prison. The second thing a man does for the woman he loves is he opens up emotionally. And this one is huge because most men don't do this easily. A man can be surrounded by people his whole life and never truly talk to anyone. But when he finds a woman he loves, she becomes the one person he lets in. He starts to share things he's never said out loud before. Not just facts about his past, but fears about his future. He'll tell you about the pressure he feels to succeed, mistakes that still haunt him, the insecurities he hides from everyone else. And when he does, it's not because he's suddenly become emotional, it's because he feels safe. He trusts that you won't judge him for being human. And that kind of vulnerability doesn't happen with just anyone. It only happens when a man feels that rare mix of love, trust, and respect. The third thing he does is he includes you in his world. Not just in the parts that are shiny and easy, but in the real, messy, unfiltered parts of his life. He introduces you to his friends. He talks about his family. He wants you to understand his work, his dreams, his struggles. He's not just fitting you into his life, he's building a life that has room for you in it. That's how you know it's love. When he starts to think in terms of where instead of me, because men don't integrate women into their world for fun. They do it when they see a future, when they can't imagine moving forward without you being part of what comes next. The fourth thing a man does for the woman he truly loves is he sacrifices his comfort for her happiness. And that's not something you'll see in the early stages of attraction. It shows up when love deepens. When he cancels his plans because you're sick. When he wakes up early just to make sure you catch your flight. When he listens to you talk about something important, even though he's exhausted, because he knows it matters to you. It's in these small sacrifices that love becomes real, because love isn't proven when it's easy, it's proven when it's inconvenient. And when a man loves you, your happiness becomes part of his purpose. He doesn't see it as a burden, he sees it as a privilege to be someone who adds value to your life. The fifth thing a man does when he's truly in love is he takes responsibility for his actions. He's not perfect. He'll make mistakes, say the wrong thing, sometimes even hurt you unintentionally. But when he loves you, he doesn't hide behind excuses. He owns it. He apologizes not to get it over with, but to rebuild trust. Love humbles him. It makes him realize that being right isn't as important as staying connected. And that's when you see real growth in him. Not because you changed him, because his love for you inspired him to be better. A man who loves you will reflect on his behavior, not just for himself, but because he cares how his actions impact you. He'll want to become the kind of man who deserves your heart every single day. The sixth thing a man does only for the woman he loves is he chooses her again and again. Not just once in the beginning when everything is exciting and new, but every day, even when it's not easy. He chooses her when life gets busy, when stress builds, when temptation or distraction show up. He stays consistent because his love isn't based on convenience, it's based on commitment. He invests in the relationship, not because he has to, because he wants to. He makes effort even when things are stable, because he knows that love needs to be nurtured. He doesn't take her for granted, because deep down, he knows how rare it is to find someone who truly understands him. What makes this so powerful is that none of these things can be forced. You can't make a man do them. You can't talk him into loving you like this. He has to feel it. He has to want to do these things, and that only happens when he genuinely values you, when he respects you, admires you, and feels lucky to have you in his life. That's when these actions start flowing naturally. But here's the part most people miss. A man only shows up this way when he feels safe to love you, when he knows that his effort is seen, that his vulnerability isn't weaponized, that his heart isn't being tested every time he tries. Love grows where it's respected, and when you create an environment where he can love you freely, without fear of being misunderstood or undervalued, that's when he gives you his best self. Because men might look tough on the outside, but emotionally, they're far more fragile than they appear. They fall hard, but only when it feels real. Only when they see that the woman they love isn't trying to control them. She's inspiring them. She isn't trying to change them. She's helping them evolve. She isn't demanding love. She's reciprocating it. That's when a man starts to give in ways that surprise even himself. When he truly loves you, you'll notice his attention to the smallest details. He'll remember the things you say in passing, the way you take your coffee, the little dreams you think no one heard. Because when he loves you, he listens differently. He sees you differently. You're not just another person in his life. You're his person. The one he wants to make proud. The one he wants to build something meaningful with. And the most beautiful part, when a man loves a woman like this, he's not just loving her, he's healing parts of himself he never knew were broken. Because genuine love doesn't just make you feel alive, it makes you grow. It teaches patience, empathy, humility. It brings out the best parts of him. The protector, the listener, the giver, the man who leads with integrity. So when you're wondering whether he loves you, don't just listen to what he says. Watch what he does, because love doesn't hide in words. It reveals itself in consistency. And when you see a man show up in all 6 of these ways, protective, open, inclusive, selfless, accountable, and loyal, you're not just looking at a man in love. You're looking at a man who's found his home in you. When a man loves a woman deeply, something in him awakens that's far more profound than desire or admiration. It's purpose. Love gives him direction. It's not that he becomes dependent on her, but that he feels more anchored because of her presence. He begins to see his world differently. Every decision, every plan, every risk he takes starts to include the thought of how it affects her. And yet that's not because he loses himself. It's because he finally feels like he has something and someone worth building for. You'll notice that when he truly loves, his pride takes a back seat to connection. A man who once needed to win every argument suddenly values peace over ego. He starts to ask himself, what's more important, being right or being understood? He doesn't walk away mid-conversation just to prove a point. He stays, he listens, he tries to bridge the gap. And that's huge, because men are often taught to shut down when emotions rise. But when love enters the picture, he starts unlearning that. He realizes that being vulnerable doesn't make him weak, it makes him human. He starts to see that the strength of his relationship isn't measured by who dominates the conversation, but by who's willing to understand. When he loves you, he stops hiding behind distractions. You'll notice his focus shift from chasing validation to cherishing connection. The nights out, the meaningless conversations, the constant need to impress others, those start to fade because now he's found something more fulfilling. Love gives him clarity. It makes him realize that all the noise he once chased was just a way to fill the emptiness that real intimacy now heals. And when a man reaches that level of awareness, his energy becomes calmer, more grounded. He's not running anymore, he's rooted. A man in love also becomes more patient, not just with you, but with himself. He begins to notice his own patterns, his reactions, his tendencies to pull away or get defensive. And instead of letting them control him, he starts doing the inner work to change. Not because someone told him to, but because he wants to grow for the sake of the love he values. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Love gives him a mirror, and for the first time, he doesn't look away from his reflection. He confronts it. He wants to be a better communicator, a better listener, a better partner. That's the quiet evolution love inspires. When a man loves a woman, he invests in the little things that bring her joy. He learns her rhythms, the things that make her laugh, gestures that make her feel seen. He remembers the small details most people overlook. It's not about the price of the gift, it's about the thought behind it. He'll grab her favorite snack after a long day or send a message just to remind her that she's appreciated. Love shifts his mindset from impressing to expressing. He doesn't need to buy her love, he wants to show it in ways that matter. Because for him, her happiness has become personal. And you'll see another thing, he starts to plan differently. Love makes a man think long term. He begins to talk about next month, next year, even the far-off future in a way that naturally includes her, not because he's trying to trap her in promises, but because he genuinely envisions her there. His plans evolve from I to we. He starts asking questions like, what do we want to create together? Or where do we see ourselves going? Those aren't casual questions, they're emotional blueprints. When a man starts speaking in terms of a shared vision, it means his love has matured into commitment. But love doesn't just make a man softer, it makes him stronger. Because now he has something to lose, and that awareness drives him to protect what he's building. He becomes more disciplined, he works harder. He starts saying no to things that threaten his peace or his integrity. Love sharpens his focus, not dulls it. It gives him a reason to stand taller, to lead with purpose, to rise above his own impulses. Because when a man is truly in love, he wants to be someone worthy of that love, not just once, but continually. When love is real, you also see how much he values emotional safety. He doesn't use silence as a weapon or affection as leverage. He understands that connection thrives on consistency. So, he shows up, not only on the good days, but on the messy ones too. He checks in, he reassures, he communicates. He wants her to feel secure, not just hear that she is. Because deep down, he knows that real love isn't built on intensity, it's built on reliability. And here's something few talk about when a man loves. He starts becoming more expressive in subtle ways that most people miss. He looks at her differently, not just with attraction, but with admiration. His tone softens. His laughter comes easier. There's a quiet gentleness in how he touches her, how he listens, how he speaks her name. These aren't rehearsed behaviors, they're natural responses to connection. Because when love is genuine, it transforms the energy around it. Another beautiful thing happens. He begins to respect her individuality even more. He doesn't try to mold her into what he wants, he celebrates her for who she is. He supports her ambitions. He encourages her independence. He's proud of her success, not threatened by it. Because a man in love doesn't compete with his woman, he collaborates with her. He understands that her growth doesn't take away from his, it adds to both of their lives. And when he loves deeply, he'll do something rare. He lets himself be led by love rather than fear. Most men, when they feel love, panic. They start to overthink. What if it ends? What if she leaves? What if I'm not enough? The man who truly loves and is emotionally ready learns to quiet those fears. He doesn't run from love, he leans into it. He understands that no relationship is guaranteed. The only way to experience something extraordinary is to show up with an open heart anyway. When he loves, he becomes more mindful of time. He doesn't take moments for granted. He realizes that every shared laugh, every deep conversation, every quiet night in, those are the moments that build a life. Love teaches him presence. It reminds him that the small things are the big things. That sometimes the best way to say, I love you, is not through words, but through attention. And one of the most profound changes love brings is humility. He recognizes that no one can love perfectly all the time. There will be disagreements, missteps, moments of distance. Instead of letting pride drive him away, he chooses to return, to repair, to reconnect. Love doesn't make him flawless, it makes him aware. And awareness leads to accountability. When he loves, you'll also notice that he doesn't just dream, he acts. He starts aligning his behavior with his promises. He follows through on the little things. Because love, to him, isn't just a feeling to be spoken about, it's a standard to live up to. He begins to understand that consistency is how you make someone feel secure, and security is what keeps love alive. You'll see him create rituals, little things that become uniquely theirs. Maybe it's a nightly check-in, a weekly routine, a small inside joke. These rituals aren't random, they're his way of reinforcing connection. They say, I see you, I choose you, every day. And that's what love ultimately becomes, a series of conscious choices, repeated over time, that turn affection into a lifelong bond. When a man truly loves, his world doesn't shrink, it expands. He becomes more generous, more empathetic, more attuned to others. Love softens the edges that life has hardened. It teaches him to slow down, to listen more deeply, to appreciate moments he once overlooked. It opens his eyes to beauty beyond the surface, to kindness, patience, forgiveness. And if you watch closely, you'll notice the greatest transformation of all. He starts to love himself better, because loving someone deeply often reflects back the truth that he too is worthy of love. He learns that being gentle doesn't make him weak. That caring doesn't make him vulnerable. It makes him alive. Love becomes his teacher, his mirror, his reminder that the greatest strength a man can have is the courage to love without holding back. Because when he does, he's not just loving her, he's discovering the best parts of himself, the parts that protect without controlling, that lead without dominating, that listen without judging, that give without expecting. Love turns a man into something greater than he was before. It reveals not just what he can feel, but who he can